Yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to another video here on Cluiche with me, Séamus Brady, your host. And for this one, I'm joined by Matthew Hurley, the Gaelic Statsman. Well, Matthew, it was a bumper weekend in the club championships, club finals from across the country, county finals, left, right, and centre, and even counties that aren't at the county final stage. They're certainly heading up towards it. Definitely a big weekend, and things starting to come together nicely now, and we're starting to be able to keep track of it all. How are you keeping?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me on again, Seamus. Yeah, even look at the results that I do on social media and things like that they're all nearly in the semi-final stage, quarter-final stage. None of them are in the quarterfinals. No club championship in hurling or football are in the quarterfinals. It's all semi-finals, all finals. Like football, there's only one championship that's finished. That's a club championship in Kerry. There were supposed to be two done yesterday, but Cardo Neitrum decided, yeah, let's go to a replay, lads, for draws in their games. So it's another weekend for them. For hurling, yeah, Laois, Carlow, Waterford, all done. You're the final stages in Ulster. You have a load of you have the Cork representatives in hurling absolutely decided no Sarsfields because Emo Kelly can't take part because of divisional commitments and all that. So yeah, it is coming together really nicely across the club championships, and it's that time of year as well, Seamus, that you look back at the predictions that me and you made in Aaron's video of club predictions videos, and you're like, how on earth did I get that wrong? And yeah,
every part of you cringes inside when you look back at them, and you can already hear the keyboard being typed as people tell you that you don't have a clue what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. There are a few that I could get right now next week. I think the Longford finals next week, Cullen Killer and that. Hopefully they win it. Port Laois are in the Laois final. Hopefully they win that. But there are other counties where I got it badly wrong. Tyrone, for example. Other counties thereabouts as well. The Clare Hurling Championship, I eventually got Ronnie Oiney Kilnamona, but to be fair, they lost on a penalty shootout against 6 Mile Bridge after a thrilling encounter. So like maybe you could cut yourself some slack off that, but yeah, some interesting predictions. And you got one wrong at the Dublin Championship as well. Ballymun going out to Coola.
Yeah, I know, man. Like, you see, the thing is that like everything lined up with that, they might be able to have a really good crack at it, and like everything lined up, especially when you're seeing like the form of some of their players, like your Paddy Small and everything like that. You were thinking maybe this is the year that they catch, and Kilmacud didn't look overly impressive as well in a couple of their games. The thing is that in Dublin there are a lot of evenly matched teams, and Coola have been actually, funnily enough, Coola have been a side over the last few years that have actually quite underwhelmed, to be honest. When you look at the spine of their team, when you look at who they have had, like they've had the last few years where they've had Mick Fitzsimons at fullback, they've had Conor Mullally, who's a Dublin inter-county footballer, has been in the squad under Jim Gavin, and then subsequently Desi Farrell. They had him at 6. They had O'Coffey Byrne at 8, and Peter Duffy, who played underage for Dublin, at midfield. Then they had Con O'Callaghan and his brother Niall O'Callaghan in the forwards. Like, they had a very strong team, and they constantly, for years in Dublin, weren't even in the Senior 1 Championship. They've really come good over the last few years, and that victory over Ballymun certainly is the best result I've seen them have in a long time. And we are going to dive into it. But the first ones we're going to dive into, because I am very interested just to get your take on this, because me and you spoke at length about this on many a podcast episode, obviously, about the changes we would make to Gaelic games, the FRC trial games. Now, obviously, these are coming up, and it's basically a Railway Cup style system. But the FRC trial games, obviously Jim Gavin is at the head of the Football Review Committee. The games are being played in Croke Park. They are going to be broadcast. So like it's going to be something that a lot of people, I feel like, will watch with interest. Certainly I will.
Oh, definitely. Like, it is an interesting kind of a thing to watch. In fairness, there's going to be apparently there's going to be a hooter timer as well, like in LGFA, so that's a good sign as well.
I've been saying it, mate. I swear to God.
Yeah, and
thank you, Jim. Thank you. Maybe he saw one of these. Who knows?
He probably did, to be fair. You being a Dublin, him being. Exactly, yeah. But if 4 goals for, if or sorry, 4 goals, 4 points for a goal. It's 2 points for a kicked outside the arc as well is going to be introduced as well. There's going to be an adjustment to the advanced mark rule. There's going to be other stuff going on the pitch as well. I think there's going to be tapping goals and stuff like that. I am very intrigued. I'm not intrigued about this if the, let's say, the Connacht squad or the Ulster squad or Munster squad getting picked and things like that. I know the manager's even there. So, but I'm more interested in what the game of football would be like watching this and what the stats would look like as well. Would it be more of an entertaining style of Gaelic football? Would it be worse? A lot of people would actually argue that it could be worse. But maybe like Jim Gavin, and the one thing you could say about Jim Gavin and the Football Review Committee, whether they're right or they're wrong, they're trying. At least they're trying, because the games of Gaelic football in the past few weeks in club and county have been utterly dreadful. Like there was a game over the weekend, I think, between Watty Grimsglen and someone else in Derry in the quarter final. There was CJ McGorty tweeted it. There was one shot inside 19 minutes. In the Antrim semi-final as well, involving Carrigan, there was the first score was scored after 27 minutes of the match.
Yeah.
So you have to try these two new things.
That game last year as well. I remember the Mayo final that finished like 6-5 or something. Like with only 1 point from play per team. Like the reality is that one thing that tends to happen is a lot of people tend to look at like a game like Dublin and Derry, for example, in the league final last year and go, well, you know, everything is sorted because that game was brilliant. It's like, no, we need to look at what made that game so good. Take what made that game so good and try and apply it to more matches so that more matches will be as entertaining as that game was. Jim Gavin and the FRC, I absolutely love what they're trying to do. They're trying to make the game more entertaining, more of a show. Because let's be honest, the people that are going to these games, they want to be entertained. When I'm going to a GA match, I want to be entertained. If I'm taking my day off work, if I'm going on the weekend, and for a lot of people, making a long journey, especially if you're going to Croke Park from Donegal or something, you deserve to be entertained. You want to be entertained. So we should be doing everything in our power to make the games as entertaining as possible. And the hand pass, standing still in the middle of the pitch, putting the hand up and calling that we're going to time manage, it's not entertaining. But it's not up to the players to take more risks. It's up to the rules of the game to push the game in a way that makes it more and more entertaining. Like, could you imagine how much more boring basketball would be if it wasn't for the shot clock?
Yeah.
Like, they pushed the game to be more entertaining, and with the shot clock, they guaranteed that you would have an attack every, period of time that the shot clock is in operation for, depending on the competition or depending on the games, everything like that. But we should be looking at doing that, rewarding risk-taking, rewarding exciting football, rewarding energetic football, and trying to encourage teams away from boring possession-based football, because the attendances will go down if that keeps going, in my opinion, because people want to be entertained, bottom line. And the reality is, Joe Brady said it perfectly, in the 90s, you could go out against a really good team and you could beat them in a shootout. Like, we saw huge shocks in the 90s, like Clare beating Kerry in the Munster final and Leitrim winning Connacht in 94, because you could go out against a bigger team and you could go man-to-man against them and beat them in a once-off game where you just got the better of them. Dublin, particularly in the Leinster Championship, have been the biggest example of this. You score against Dublin in the Leinster Championship over the last decade, they've just been like, oh, cute. We're taking the ball. You're not getting it back for 10 minutes. We're going to hold on to it and basically strangle you. You're not going to get this ball back. And we're going to rack up 3, 4, 5 points. And before you know it, not only that goal that you scored now is irrelevant, you're actually further behind than when that ball hit the back of the net. So this is really important to the game because it could drive the entertainment value back up. But it's a very interesting topic, and I'd love to get you guys' opinions. There's a few people watching this now. Put your comments in below. Let me know in the live chat. Like, what rules are you most looking forward to? What rules would you love to see the committee try in these games? Because, as Matthew said, they're trying. And Matthew, if you could give one quick one just before we move off this, is there a rule in particular that you are looking forward to seeing in action the most?
I think it's honestly the 2 points for outside the mark, or the outside the
arc.
whatever the arc, yeah. It's I think that's going to be a very, very interesting to watch in fairness, because it's gonna see how many players would actually take the shot on and shoot at sight. Because there was one game in the summer, and a lot of people would have brushed over this game because Donegal won pretty comfortably in the end. But Donegal against Louth, I enjoyed that because lots of players like Tommy Durnan, you had Oisin Gallen, you had Paddy McBrearty shooting on sight every time in that game. Samuel Roy as well when he was on the pitch. And I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that game. And as well as that, Louth gave it to Donegal as well. So, like, that's the game of football that I want to see. I really want to see that style of football. And it's going to be very interesting to see that kind of style happen in this FRC game as well. Two rules that I definitely want to be brought in as it goes on. They're not brought in yet, but hopefully they will be in the next few years. Number one is once a player enters the 45, if he moves outside the 45, it should be a free out, in my opinion. Because
with the ball or without the ball?
If you move inside the 45 with the ball, you have to stay inside the 45, and this will incorporate the shot clock that you're suggesting as well in basketball.
So it's like basketball with the half court.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah. And if you go outside the 45 in that time, free out, because that's not playing football the way it should be. And just a word on basketball as well. I know Ireland weren't prevalent at the Olympics at all in basketball, but it was one of the sports I enjoyed the most. I will say this, Shane. I'm not just saying that because you used to play basketball, but I enjoyed watching Germany against Belgium, or France against Spain, or France against the United States. I enjoyed, and as well as that, the commentary on RT, which was absolutely incredible in that regard as well. But basketball was so enjoyable, and I would go as far to say that was the most enjoyable sport at the Olympics this summer in Paris. So, like, if you could incorporate some bits of basketball into Gaelic games, I think you could end up with a very, very good spectacle after. So, yeah.
This is the funniest thing is that whole hand passing around the loop and creating a bit of an arc around the team's defense. That's straight out of the basketball playbook. Like when you're playing basketball, I don't know if anybody watching this has, but when you're playing basketball, you will do moves, and they often involve getting around the opposing team's zone, lining up and running a play. That's all GA is now. That's every attack, unless it's a fast break. Every attack, especially the top teams. It's very managed. It's very deliberate. There are screening runs, very, very similar to basketball. So let's take the good, entertaining things out of basketball with it. Now, before we move into the actual club results as well, I do want to give a big shout out to Patrick Bonner Maher. He obviously announced his retirement from Intercounty. I'm going to be honest, it's felt like this guy has been retired for a decade. Like, he's had such bad luck with injuries that I've constantly forgot that he's still in the team. And then he always just emerged off the bench or something. I'm like, geez, how is this guy still going? Because my first memory of Patrick Bonner Maher was him tearing it up in the 2010 All-Ireland final when Tip stopped the Kilkenny drive for 5. That's 14 years ago. Like, this guy has been an absolute warrior for Tip. His intercounty journey has finally come to an end, but it's fair to say this guy rang it out, and he's a legend of Tip hurl.
Absolutely, and on that 2010 team as well, only one of them remain, Noel McGrath. So, yeah,
we're getting old, man.
Yeah. I remember that final. Yeah, that was just an incredible final to watch as just a neutral, just to witness that stopping at the drive for 5, Lark Corbett scoring the hat trick.
Liam Sheedy still looks exactly the same.
Yeah, he does.
He hasn't aged a bit.
Exactly, yeah. Brendan Cummins still looks around the same as well.
Yeah.
When you think about it, yeah. And he scored a point in that All-Ireland final as well. Like, yeah. And a lot of people point towards Lark Corbett scoring the hat-trick in that final, but he was created so many chances by the marauding runs of Patrick Bonner Maher. Like, that guy was the driving force behind Tipperary hurling for years now. Even at the 2014 final, when John Bubbles O'Dwyer got all the acclaim, really, from a Tipperary point of view, this guy was driving up and down the field. And if memory serves me correctly, he got the goal in the 2014 All-Ireland Finals drawn game, didn't he, Patrick Bonner? So, Look, he's a legend of the game. Absolute unreal servant to Tipperary hurling. It was just unfortunate with the amount of injuries that he had over the last few seasons. But yeah, another big Tipperary presence has stepped away now. You look over the last few seasons, Séamus Brady stepping away. Obviously Patrick Bonner-Barr now, Lara Corbett in the last decade as well. Like Noel McGrath, how long does he have it in the clock? John McGrath, how long does he have as well? Like it's kind of sad to
me. Paddy Maher
Yeah.
and Brendan Maher, when they stepped, I was like, not replacing them easy.
Yeah, exactly. That was some Tipperary team that won 3 All-Irelands in the 2010s, 2010, 2016 and 2019. And yeah, they're serious stalwarts for Tipperary hurling. And yeah, Patrick Bonner-Barr, unbelievable player for he's County Tipperary and his club Lower Dora. And yeah, absolutely legend of the game. And obviously all the best to Patrick Bonner in his retirement. But Tipperary hurling's now under a transitional phase when you think about it. Will no one and John McGrath stick around? The new lads have to step in now, the likes of the Darby Cartys, the likes of Jake Morris, the likes of Mark Kehoe. These younger lads have to step up. I know Jake Morris and Mark Kehoe have been around for a few years now, but they are the elder statesmen of this team now. They have to step up for Liam Cahill next season. It's going to be vital. But Patrick Bonner-Barr will be a big miss for Tipperary hurling, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, he certainly will. So, guys, what we're going to do, if you are new to a club recap here on Cluiche, what we do is we run through the days. So we go through the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, especially when there's so many club championship games on. And I'm reading it straight off Matthew's Instagram page, at Gaelic Statsman. It's there underneath his name there. If you are watching, you don't follow it, go follow it right now. Keep you right up to date with everything GAA related. So start off with Friday's club results. Now, there is only 2 down here. Obviously, the Tyrone Senior Football Championship semi-final, Trillick 17 points, Dungannon 7 points, and the Louth Senior Football Championship relegation playoff, St. Fechin's 1-9, St. Bride's 5 points. So St. Fechin's obviously safe for another year. We'll talk about the Trillick versus Dungannon game when we talk about the other Tyrone football semi-final. We'll give a little quick preview to that. But let's dive right in with the heavy games now. Ready for the big lists? Saturday's club results. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find the Tyrone semi-final. That was on the Sunday, wasn't it?
It was on the Sunday, yeah.
It was on the Sunday, yes it was. So obviously Dungannon, so it's Errigal Kieran who won that game on the Sunday. They beat Killyclogher by the minimum. Errigal Kieran 1-12, Killyclogher 2-8. Peter Hart, of course, outstanding in that game. And they're into the final where they'll play against Trillick, who beat Dungannon by 17 points to 7. A very interesting final pairing here between Trillick and Errigal Kieran.
It is, considering the fact that these are the last 2 winners of the Tyrone Championship. For the first time in a long while, the Tyrone Championship is
the exact same final as last year.
Yeah. And for the first time in a long while, I think the Tyrone Championship has gone along the expected lines. Like, we make these wacky predictions about Tyrone, Séamus, and name just any club around the Tyrone County Championship. But those days are kind of gone now because these 2 clubs have brought a stranglehold into this championship. Even though Killyclogher really pushed Errigal Kieran all the way, and Clonard O'Reilly's brought Errigal to a replay in the quarterfinals. I will say this about their runs to the final anyway. I haven't looked at it in depth now, but off the top of my head, Trillick have been more consistent in their performances in the knockout stages. In the quarterfinal and the semi-final, especially the semi-final against Dungannon, they wiped them. They have wiped everybody in this Tyrone Championship. Errigal Kieran needed a replay to beat O'Reilly's, and they need a 1-point win to beat Killyclogher. So you could argue as well, on the other side of the coin, Errigal have had more tests than Trillick, you could argue. So it's going to be a very interesting final, there's no doubt about it. Like, Errigal have some very good players, obviously the Canavan brothers in Rory and Dara, their cousin there, and Tommy as well, is an excellent centre forward to have in any team. And of course, Trillick, Matty Donnelly's back in the team, back fully fit as well. Kieran Daly's a good player to have in amongst the ranks there as well. So yeah, Trillick and Errigal Kieran is going to be an interesting one to call. Trillick are going for 2 in a row, which I don't know when's the last time that happens in Tyrone. It must have been a long time ago. It has to be, yeah, I would say so. But who's going to win? I'll probably go for Trillick just about for now. Just the way they've got past their opposition so far in the championship so far. But Errigal Kieran, with the Canavans that they have in their team, there's always a chance there.
Yeah, very true. But the reality is, man, you tear up the notes for the Tyrone Football Championship because most often than not, everything that you think you know about it matters nothing. And the one thing that I seem to notice is a little bit of a pattern in the Tyrone Championship is nobody really tends to go back to back. As we said, it's been over a decade since anybody in the Tyrone Championship did go back to back. So I'm going to go for Eric McKieran to spoil the Trillick party and to reclaim the Tyrone Senior Football Championship. So diving into the rest of the results. So we're going to pair these together as well, actually, while we're on the subject, because one of the semi-finals was on the Saturday, one of the semi-finals was on the Sunday. So on the Sunday in the Dublin Senior Football Championship semi-final, Kilmacud Crokes, last year's champions, beat Nafina by 112 to 12 points. And Coola, as we said, beat Ballymun Kickham 16 points to 1 goal and 8 points. So that's my pick to win out. And Kilmacud Crokes, the one thing that we've noticed is last time that Kilmacud beat Nafina in the club championship, Shane Walsh made the difference. I don't know if you've seen, but Devin Burns pulled off an outrageous save in this game from Conor McHugh. Nafina must be raging.
Yeah. I'd say so because they'll go on about the homegrown players and things like that. But Devin Burns, look, jokes aside, Devin Burns is an exceptional goalkeeper, and I've said for a long time now, this is probably one of the best goalkeepers that Kerry have produced in the last few seasons. That's including Shane Ryan, who's a very very good goalkeeper himself. But Devin Burns, kick outs, 45s, shot stopping, the guy has the lot. And Kilmacud have brought themselves a gym there in Devin Burns. You have Connor Ferris there amongst the panel as well, who can't even get in the team now because of Devin Burns' influence. Paddy O'Connor is doing well for Kilmacud as well. You have Shane Walsh, you have Paul Mannion. You just have a variety of superstars there. Nafina, I'm sure they put it up to Kilmacud the way they did yesterday. I didn't see much of it because I was at the Cork Hurling semi-finals yesterday, but yeah, it was a brilliant win for Kilmacud to get over the line against Nafina. But Coola looks very, very good against Ballymun. Because there was no Cork games on, I decided to watch this game, and I think I made the right decision for once this time in watching a game. This was a very good performance for Coola. In the first half, it was a bit nitty-gritty, Ballymun trying to get into it, Coola trying to get into it. But I'd say it was about around the 40th to the 50th minute. Coola really took over in this one, and Ballymun just didn't seem to have an answer in this one. Con was hitting scores from left and right. Niall O'Callaghan, his brother, was absolutely brilliant in this as well. I thought Pat O'Coffey-Byrne made a huge difference in midfield, and Coola dominated the midfield area in this one. And I think Pat O'Coffey-Byrne, and I don't know, would you say the same about this, Séamus? He's definitely worth a try in the Dublin team. I think he's a very, very good player, very athletic player for UCD in the Sigerson Cup and for Cool in the club championship. He's definitely worth a shot in the starting lineup for Dublin, especially with the likes of Brian Fenton getting older now and needing probably a midfield partner to help him. I think Pat O'Coffey-Byrne could definitely step up to it. I know just the argument with Brian Howard, but what you could do there from the Dublin point of view is put Brian Howard into the half-forward role or half-back role and add a third midfielder possibly. But I think Pat O'Coffey-Byrne is a really, really good find for Dublin if he goes into the Dublin team. Mick Fitzsimons was driving on this team from the very start of this one as well. I think Charlie McMorrow was very good from centre back as well in the coolest side. Ballymun, I didn't know what happened to them in the second half. I just think they switched off in a few kickouts. Coola got the scraps and put them over the bar. Dean Robertson scored a goal late on. Well taken goal, by the way, but too little too late, and Ballymun are out of the championship now, and that must be a kick in the teeth for the Ballymun players because they performed so well in the group stage and the quarterfinals, and for them to come a crop in this semi-final the way they did, like it was really, really poor from them. Like 5-point margin, and to be honest, Séamus, it could have been more. Really deserved win for Coola, but Kilmacud, the monsters waiting in the final.
That's it, there. They're going to be so hard to stop. Look, I can't see anything but a Kilmacud win in the final. Like Kilmacud are too experienced. They're better than they were last year. Like they've added. It's literally like they've gone into the transfer market and picked up, but they have. They picked up a brilliant goalkeeper in Devin Burns, who is better than Ferris and Higgins that they had last year. And they also have picked up Paddy O'Connor, who's a really, really tidy inter-county forward, who is one of Sligo's best players. And they picked him up. If they have a forward line, of like Shane Horan, Shane Cunningham, and Paul Mannion, Darren Mullen, Shane Walsh, and Paddy O'Connor, that is ridiculous. That is a Division 2 league teams forward line. That is outrageously stacked, and I would see it quite hard, to be honest, as well. I hate to sound like kind of dismissive. I think if Coola can't stop them, I think Crokes run through to the All-Ireland semi-final, because I can't see anybody stopping them in the Leinster Championship as well. Naas have put it up to them over the last few years, but failed to get over the line, and I don't see any reason why it would be different this year.
The thing is, Séamus, and I looked at the Leinster draw as well, Naas, if they win Kildare, Kilmacud win Dublin, if it all goes to form, they'll play each other in quarterfinals in a Kildare venue, as far as I know. So
well, that's the only chance that they get caught. Like, and it needs to be like a freak situation. It needs to be a Mullinochta style, like where just everything goes wrong for Kilmacud and everything goes right for Naas. And the thing is, if you look at that game back, Kilmacud learned a lot from that game. Robbie Brennan was not the manager at that time. When Brennan has come in, Kilmacud have been very professional, and they haven't really been caught in a huge upset. Like they've never really been beaten. A lot of people felt like the Raheny one was a massive shock, but to me, that Raheny game and them taking Kilmacud to penalties, in my opinion, was Raheny finally realizing the talent that they have right in front of them, and that's why I was so frustrated by them watching them against Castleknock this year, because like, how can you be 5 points up and a man up, and you have Brian Fenton, Brian Howard, Rob Hennelly all on the pitch, and you lose by 3? Like, to a Castleknock team that on paper has one inter-county player. Like, it genuinely is like they just completely failed to live up to the expectations that would be on them when you look at their team. Coola have been magnificent, running through the players that you mentioned there. Nick Fitz, I think you could argue he's Dublin's greatest man marker of all time. Like, I think when you look at his longevity, like he started off his career with Dublin in 2010 under Pat Gilroy. That's a completely different era with Dublin. Like, when Mick Fitz was brought in, Dublin hadn't won an All-Ireland since 1995. We were consistently choking in the All-Ireland semi-finals. Like, when it really came down to it, Dublin would find a way to lose. We did that against Cork in 2010. We found a way to throw the game away. And even though Cork were brilliant, like Ross McConnell got sent off, gave away a stupid penalty, Cork got back into the game and won. And I think when you looked at it, Mick Fitz came in his first year. Dublin got knocked out of Leinster by Meath, hammered. Meath scored 5 goals. Then Dublin, it was a very different time. And Mick Fitz has soldiered through all that. 2011, his first All-Ireland final, he's put man marking Colin Cooper. He does a really good job. 2023, potentially his last All-Ireland final. We're not sure how Dublin are going to look next year. He's marking David Clifford. His longevity is just undeniable. How good he's been, the levels he's kept himself towards. Even when he's been dropped, even when Johnny Cooper and Philly McMahon edged him out of the team, he's always maintained his professionalism. I personally admire him, like, to the highest level. I think he's one of our best ever players. So I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him get a Dublin Championship medal, because a lot of Dubs who are legends don't actually have one. Kevin McMenamin is going to retire without a Dublin Championship medal now. Like, the best opportunities have passed him by, and it's really, really sad to say that, because of how good that Jude's team was. They're just around at the same time as that Vincent's team and Kilmacud Crokes.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, very hard to see Kevin McMenamin win and a few other Dublin players as well. But one more question on Kilmacud and how they can be stopped. I read it just to make sure everything was correct here, but Robbie Brennan is going to step down as Kilmacud manager after the Dublin Championship game against Coola. Will that have an effect on the players, do you think?
Absolutely.
Feel free, yeah.
Absolutely. No, Robbie, like, I've had the pleasure of interviewing Robbie a couple of times when I'm doing work with Dublin GA. Like, especially Robbie was actually the first manager that I interviewed after the game, and he does have a presence. Like, he's a very big personality, very nice guy, but he definitely had a bond with that Kilmacud squad. You can see it. You go to the game, you can see Robbie demands respect from those Kilmacud lads. There's a lot of big egos in that dressing room. There's a lot of big personalities in that dressing room. And to get all those lads singing from the same hymn sheet, it's more difficult than people give it credit for. Like, a lot of people say, like, oh, well, of course Kilmacud are going to win. Like, they brought in Shane Walsh. Did you ever hear about Parnell's? Parnell's at the start of the 2010s went on a mad... Did you hear what I said there about Parnell's?
I didn't catch a bit about Parnell's.
Okay, no. So I just said, when people say, oh, well, of course Kilmacud won, they had Shane Walsh. My kind of go-to as well, did you see what happened to Parnell's? It's not as easy. Parnell's on paper at the start of the 2010s probably had at least in the top 3 teams in Dublin. In one championship, they had Kieran McKeever, Conor Mortimer, MJ Tierney, Colin Parkinson, Colin Begley, and Stephen Cluxton. All in the team. And they did nothing because they were all not singing off the same hymn sheet. And eventually it crashed and burned. Robbie Brennan has ran a very smooth, well-drilled, well-organised Kilmacud Croke side. And they do, I'm telling you this from being at the game, man, they have an aura about them. Like, when you're watching Kilmacud Crokes, you just have a feeling that, like, nah, they're going to find a way to win. Like, I remember watching, like, Raheny be 3 points up with the last play of the game. And still I was like, no, I think Kilmacud are still going to find a goal. And of course they did. And they just have an aura about them. I can't see them being beaten in the Dublin final. But Robbie Brennan stepping away, I think might just knock them off potentially winning the All-Ireland. My All-Ireland pick has gone up in smoke. I don't know if you remember who it was.
Yeah, mine has as well.
Not a great buzz, is it?
Yeah.
We'll go back into the Saturday's club results. And guys, anybody watching, we have a healthy number now watching us. If you are up for it, do put it in the comments below. Let me know, what was your highlight of the weekend? What club match were you at the weekend? Or were you watching GABO and TG Cahir, which was showing the Leitrim football final and the Laois hurling final? So jumping in here, the Clare Senior Hurling Championship semi-final on Saturday. Feakle beat Cratloe by 117 to 115. 2 Galway hurling quarterfinals are on the Saturday. Clarenbridge 15 points, Tommy Larkins 10, Capitago 22, Sarsfields 117. And then the relegation playoff from Galway, Gort beat Mulla 1-9 to 11 points. In the Wexford Senior Hurling Championship quarterfinals, Shelmaliers beat Crossabeg Ballymurn by 14 points to 1-8. In the Kilkenny relegation playoff, Glenmore beat James Stephens 317 to 312. We're going to stop there. James Stephens relegated. Wow.
Yeah, it's the first time they're playing outside a senior Kilkenny hurling since 1955.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so yeah, things didn't seem to go right for James Stephens. I watched the end of this game on Clubber as well, and I just watched it because I've seen, this is a relegation playoff involving James Stephens. I clicked into it. James Stephens were just narrowly ahead at that point. They scored 3 goals in the first half to try and keep themselves in the game, but then Glenmore took hold of the game and got the win that they needed as well. Drove on by Adam Murphy, should I say, at the centre forward role in the team for Glenmore. Glenmore missing Owen Murphy, the Kilkenny goalkeeper, as well. So it wasn't as if James Stephens had didn't have favours or anything like that from injuries or anything like that. This was a big opportunity for James Stephens to get over the line and survive relegation. They didn't do it. And Brian Coley looked a bit agitated on the sideline, but look at the coverage as well. It just didn't seem right. And James Stephens, unfortunately, going down to Kilkenny's second-tier competition. And it's the first time, because of a restructure in the 1950s. Obviously, none of us were alive back then, let's be honest. Or alive to remember it anyway, back in the 1950s or 1940s, but there was kind of a restructure in Kilkenny. So that all means this is the first time in their history that James Stephens got relegated for the senior championship. Like, it's a historic kind of a stat, and it's one that James Stephens wouldn't like to hear. And it's unfortunate that a club of that magnitude has gone down, but we've seen it last year with Cork with Glen Rovers. We've seen it in other championships as well, in Galway with Portumna. We've seen in Dublin in recent years with St. Vincent's. It does happen. It does happen, big clubs. And this will be all about the bounce back ability that James Stephens have. Do they have it in the tank to get over the line? You need to read it next season. And it's maybe not a bad thing, maybe to do a few things right, maybe to fix a few things. Like, you look at Thomastown in Kilkenny, they won the Intermediate Championship last year in Kilkenny, and they're now in the semi-finals against Mullinavash this year. It was a major opportunity to reach the final in Kilkenny. So it's not among the realms of possibility that a team goes down to intermediate that they can't go back up and compete again. So I think James Stephens, this is a crucial period for the club, and definitely it is worth checking to see how they get on in the next few years. In the other games that you mentioned there, Chevaliers getting over the line in the quarterfinal as expected in Wexford. In Galway, who kind of, well, Capitagle beating Sarsfields is kind of an unexpected result by 2 points there, but Carbridge over the line against Tommy Larkins is not unexpected by the slightest. And the Clare semi-final, Fecal, brilliant achievement for them. This is their first appearance at the Clare Senior Hurling Championship final since 1988. It's a brilliant achievement for them. Congratulations to all involved there. And Adam Hogan, Séamus, he's going to be Young Player of the Year this year. Let's be honest. The All-Stars is going to be announced in the next few weeks now. And his club have reached the Clare final for the first time since 1988. What a year that young lad's had. And what a 2 years as well. Like the last year he had a breakout year with the Clare team. And now this year he's brought it on to another new level as well. So yeah, Ava Quilligan's on the Fecal team as well. So they have a nice compact defence and they build it on into the attack as well. So brilliant result for Fecal, and they'll face 6 Mile Bridge in the final there.
Certainly. And I remember, like, especially like touching on Adam Hogan there, like I remember when he first, kind of started being on the fringes. I remember thinking he was brilliant, but then I remember being like, yeah, good luck getting into that full back line, buddy, because I remember Rory Hayes and Paul Flanagan had the cornerback spots at the time. And I remember thinking there's no way he gets in there. And now he's first name in that full back line. You could argue like he's been absolutely magnificent. Running through the rest of the results from Saturday then, the Sligo Senior Hurling Championship semi-finals, Naomh Own 217, Western Gales 1-9, Easky 416, Coolera Strandhill 1-9. So 2 very dominant wins there for Naomh Own and Easky. And this was a beatdown. The Kildare Senior Hurling Championship semi-final on the Saturday, Naas 328, Confey 7 points. Absolutely ruthless there from Naas. Mayo Senior Football Championship relegation playoff, Belmullet 5-5, Kilmena 1-9. Bizarre scoreline. The Louth Senior Football Championship semi-final, RD St. Mary's 2-14, Newtown Blues 10 points, so RD St. Mary's into the final. The Meath Senior Football Championship final, Dunshaughlin booked their place there by beating St. Peter's Dunboyne 11 points to 10. Monaghan Football Quarter Final, Inniskeen Grattans 216, Cardiff Gales 112. Cavan Senior Football Championship semi-final, Crosserlock 10 points, Cavan Gales 8 points. And then the Roscommon Senior Football Championship semi-final, Pádraig Pearses, who knocked out St. Bridget's last year's finalists, and my pick to win the whole thing. Thanks very much, lads. Pádraig Pearses 1-9, St. Follocks 3 points. And then the Armagh Senior Football Championship semi-final as well, Clondegale 14 points, Madden Referees 12 points. They're into the final of Armagh now, where they will come up against Clon Erin, who knocked out Crossmaglen Rangers, which you'll run through. Obviously, they beat them on the Sunday. And the Antrim Senior Hurling Championship semi-final, then Rory O'Cushion-Dahl beat Naomh Own 127 to 26 points after extra time. The thing we're going to stop on here and talk about, obviously, is last year's All-Ireland Club champions in the men's football, Waddy Graham's Glen. The Derry Senior Football Championship quarterfinals. First, we'll talk about Sean O'Leary's Newbridge. They beat Balahi 18-14 after extra time. But when you look at the other quarterfinal, Waddy Graham's Glen 111, Lavey 13 points. I'm going to be honest, man. I think Slaughtneil are going to smash them. I think they're going to I think Slaughtneil are going to end this.
I thought you were just going to say beat them.
I think they're hanging on by their fingernails. And I think that this reminds me a lot. I have to say it. This reminds me a lot of like Jim McGuinness's Donegal in 2013. That like they're hanging on. They're getting through games that they would have got through easier last year. And then when they come up against someone and they realize the jig is up, it might just fall apart.
I thought you were going to say that Slaughtneil were going to beat them and beat them by 1 or 2 points, which I would have agreed with. Smash them.
I think 5 or 6 points, man. I think Slaughtneil are going to like beat them.
Don't get me wrong, I agree with you. I think Slaughtneil will win it.
Because, mate, when you know the rivalry between them two, there's nobody that would have been more pissed off about Glen winning than Slaughtneil.
It's true. That is true.
So I think Slaughtneil will be chomping at the bit to beat Glen. And I think when you look at how long Glen have been on the road, it's not just this year, it's last year as well. They literally got to the All-Ireland semi-final with Derry and they lost it by a fingernail. Sorry, they got even further than that. They got to the semi-final the year before. They lost to Galway. Then they went into that whole campaign where they got to Croke Park. Kilmacud left their extra players on the pitch. And then, that whole fiasco kicked up where the lads didn't know whether they're going to be replaying or not. Then your man whipped them straight back into the league. They're still on the road. Then they go through the whole situation again, finally get over the line in the All-Ireland Club final. And then they go through the whole Mickey Hart debacle. And I just look at it thinking, when you look at them, they have looked laboured, and Malachy O'Rourke has one eye on the Tyrone job. I just think Salt Neil are going to be gunning for them. I don't think they're on their level. I think a fully focused and fully fit and 100% Glen, I still think will beat them. But I think they're nowhere near their level right now.
This isn't the first time that you've said a team involved in Conor Glass and Eden Doherty will get smashed this year.
Correct. Correct.
That's the first time that's ended up with egg in your face.
I remember that because I was going to Two Door Cinema Club that night, and I remember I had a few drinks in me, and I remember just went to the fridge to get another bottle, and then my mate came in and said that Derry had beaten Mayo. I just remember being like, well, I can't do the pod. Not talking about you for a week. Gonna go into hiding. Do you kind of see where I'm coming from, though? Eh?
I definitely do. Yeah, because
I have a good question for you. Actually, do you think it's more likely that Slot Neil win this at a canter or that Glen win this?
I think it's more likely Glen beat Slot Neil than Slot Neil hammer Glen. But I think Slot Neil will get over the line by a point or two.
Okay.
So we're in the same page in terms of the actual results, but the scoreline we're not. So
actually, there's one thing that I have completely underestimated, and that's how low scoring the Derry Championship has been.
Yeah.
So I might say like a 4-point smashing, if such a thing exists.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be a very interesting game, there's no doubt about it. It's a shame now. This story was brought up by Cara O'Kane as well. RT were planning or wanted to show the Watty Graham's Lane and Slot Neil game. But because Derry are putting this behind the paywall, they're putting Newbridge and Mahara Feltz on instead on RT.
Yeah, weird.
It's no, but we both know, Séamus, the reasoning behind that. It's I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of it. I'm really not.
Just more money, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like the reality is that the GA is in such a weird spot now with the split season. It seems like we're in a really weird phase right now where everyone's just kind of running around doing whatever they want, like throwing certain games on pay-per-view. Look, they're running it as a business. If you are going to get the most people to buy your product, Glen and Sock Neil is going to sell a hell of a lot better than the other game. It's just like that's the way it is. So I can understand from a financial aspect what they're doing, but if you are doing that, and if you are someone who then supports, that clubs should have it behind the paywall and everything like that, don't you dare get into the whole GA Go debate next season talking about all the games should be shown free if you are then in favour of club games being put behind the paywall, because that's even at a lesser level. That's taking it off a very precise part of the population, like a very precise club where we all know your love for your club actually burns deeper than your love for your county for a lot of people, because that might be your brother playing, or that might be your son playing, or that might be your daughter playing, that you want so badly to watch that game. You know what I mean? So it hurts a little bit more in my opinion. And look, it's just one of those situations where they are going to have to come up with a plan, like a legitimate plan, that how we can, get the best product out there for people to watch and people to digest and people to feel like they're not being taken advantage of individually and everything like that. Look, there's going to be a way we can do it in the future as technology gets better and better and better. And when you go to the Dublin Championship, you see it's one camera, it's one camera, two commentators. And then, we would handle the social media stuff after the game, interviewing the managers and everything like that. Like, it's a very slick operation in Parnell Park. And I think the formula is there. The formula is there. And paying £12 per game, like some counties are charging, I'm the same as you. I'm not really, really a fan of it. I think you can definitely go a little bit cheaper. The thing that I would like to see in that situation is a real justification as to why it needs to be that much. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know when like the GA came out and did that euro sign and they said 83 cents of every euro goes to this and this? I'm like, that is fantastic, because that is communication. Rumors start and people start this because you leave it vague. You know what I mean? But if you come out and you say, this is it, but this is what it is, and you're completely transparent with the public and you're completely transparent with people, like if they were to come out, like, how the Cork CEO came out when the whole Super Value Park thing was going on?
Yeah.
He just came out and he was like, yeah, we're broke. I was just like, do you know what? At least we know what's going on. Do you know what I mean? At least we know Cork have massively overspent on Páirc Uí Chaoimh. It's a beautiful stadium, but they've massively overspent on it. And now they're in a bit of a tight situation where they need money. And the reality is Cork fans, I think, like, this is what we were talking about. It's definitely a deeper thing, but I think Cork fans have been an absolute credit to their county, to themselves, and to that badge on that Cork jersey, because when Cork financially have needed the fans more than ever, the fans have turned out this summer for Cork in a way that I haven't seen them do in my lifetime. Like, they've absolutely made the hurling championship. I personally agree with Dan Casey. The Cork fans have been the best fans in the hurling championship of 2024. Like, you compare the All-Ireland hurling semi-final of Clare-Kilkenny to the Cork Limerick. I was at both of them. The atmosphere was night and day between Cork and Limerick and Clare and Kilkenny. Not in terms of passion. Not in terms of passion. I have to get that across. The fans that were there for the Clare and Kilkenny game made so much noise where I was, and they were cheering for their team from minute one to the last minute of the game. But there was just so much more Cork fans and Limerick fans at the second game. Like, mate, we were sitting there together. That felt like an All-Ireland final, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Absolutely.
It absolutely did.
Yeah.
Does it make you proud at all to be a Cork fan when you seen them come out like that last year?
It does, to an extent, yeah. And it makes me proud as well that they were supporting the footballers at some stages as well, against Kerry and against Tyrone as well. Even when there was the game against Offaly as well, there was a good Cork turnout for the Tyrone game in the football as well. So yeah, I was delighted with the support that the Cork fans gave as well, and the fact they outpacked Thurles, outpacked Tipperary in their own ground as well, and the park against Clare and Limerick. Against Waterford, Waterford's a small stadium anyway. It's going to be difficult to get all the Cork fans inside there. But yeah, I would agree. I definitely think themselves and Armagh in particular have
Armagh class.
Yeah,
I love Armagh fans. The atmosphere they bring, man. And I worked in Croke Park for a year doing tours around the stadium, and Armagh people are so sound. Like, they're so easy, then a great crack.
Yeah.
Always giving a little bit of banter to a dub, but it was always good banter. Gonna run through now the Sunday club results, and I'm going to start at the bottom of your list, and we're going to work our way up. So, starting with the Wicklow Senior Hurling Championship final, Bray Emmets defeated Carnew Emmets by 23 points to 4-8. Congratulations to Bray Emmets. The Tyrone hurling final, Éire Óg Carrickmore beat Owen Ruaidh 3-16 to 3-13. Congratulations to Éire Óg Carrickmore. Sligo Senior Football Championship relegation semi-final, Turlestrane 2-12, Calgary St. Joseph's 2-6. So Turlestrane are safe for another year. Crazy to see them in a relegation semi-final, though. Down Senior Hurling Championship semi-finals, Ballygalget 215, Leitrim Fontenoy 16 points, St. Pat's Portaferry 131, Ballycran 314. Incredible scoreline there from Portaferry. The Kildare Senior Hurling Championship semi-final, then Maynooth will face Naas in that final. They beat Era Og Coraquil by 218 to 116. The Westmeath Hurling semi-final, Loughlin Gales 115, Clonkill 16 points. London football semi-final, St. Kiernan's 10 points, Tyrconnell Gales 1-4, North London Shamrocks 110, Fulham Irish 6 points. Waterford Senior Football Championship relegation playoff on Rin 3-6, Bricky Rangers 3 points. And in the Waterford quarterfinals in football, Ballinacorty 215, Clashmore Kinselabeg 8 points, and in the Nair 211, Kilrasanti 111. Remember the Nair's chant, "We're from the Nair." Who could forget? Yeah, out of those results, we'll split them up. What have you made out of some of those results there?
Firstly, I'll go to the London semi-finals because that's another prediction wrong on my part. To be fair, I picked Fulham Irish to win it because of the cool name, and they won it last year. But Fulham Irish lost to North London Shamrocks, who themselves, that is a cool name. North London, but it's all Arsenal, Tottenham that have been around that. But there's apparently a GA club called North London Shamrocks there, and they're in the final now. So
if they have North London Shamrocks fan TV.
They could do. St. Kieran's, in all seriousness, so I'd say St. Kieran's will probably be favourites for that one. They've won the last few London Championships themselves before Fulham Irish did, so they'd be probably favourites to win that. Denier beat Kilrasanti by a goal. They don't look to be up their top level. It looks to be Abbey side look to be, or Bandacourt, should I say. They beat Clashmore Kinselbeg in this quarterfinal by a canter in that one. You've Gaultier doing well, you've Rack Armagh doing well as well. So I'd say they'd be probably the three favourites, and Denier would probably be forward. I said Denier at the start, so maybe I could be right, but doesn't look that way so far. The down semi-finals, like St. Pat's Portaferry got a good score though up on Ballycran. That was a good score then for them. In Westmeath, Loughlin Gales faced Castletown Gyogan, if I pronounced that correctly, in the final. So a good final to look forward to in Westmeath. So yeah, some interesting games there.
Certainly. We'll dive into the second half now. So this is your caption, because that was actually, believe it or not, guys, the top comment that I was reading out, because there were so many games on the Sunday. Tipperary Senior Football Championship semi-finals both happened on the Sunday. Lockmore Castleiney 216, Mull Rovers 5 points, and Clonmel Commercial 16 points, Kilshean, Kilcash 5 points. So it will be Clonmel Commercials against Lockmore Castleiney in the Tipperary football final. Remarkably, Lockmore Castleiney stand just an hour and 20 minutes, 2 hours away from another double. Like, we'll stop and pause there. That is a sensational achievement, because the last time that was put to me, I remember it was put to me because Kilmacud Crokes did a double in the same year that Lockmore Castleiney did a double. And I think, I'm not sure, was it Aaron that asked me this, but it was someone asked me, what's more impressive, Kilmacud's double or Lockmore Castleiney's double? That's still to this day, it's not a question at all, because Kilmacud, when you look at it, they have different panels for the sports. Lockmore Castleiney, a lot of their best players in the hurling are their best players in the football, and here they stand just 3 years later on the brink of doing it again.
Yeah, it's a miraculous achievement, and you cannot argue in Tipperary football, focusing on football for a bit, Lockmore and Clonmel Commercials are the best two teams in the county. I don't think anybody would say that's an unpopular opinion, and either one of them was going to win it. It's a remarkable achievement for a small club down near South Tipperary, not more Castleiney. Like, it's incredible that they're in the hurling final, first of all, beating Turner Sarsfields last weekend, which is an incredible scoreline to get, by the way. And they absolutely crushed Moyle Rovers in this game as well. So, like, they're only one of a few clubs that could still do the double. I think Shotneil could still do it in Derry, and they look like, if they beat Squatty Grims, then, like you say they would, they look in a pretty good position to do the double in Derry, Kilmacud and Dublin. But like Shotneil and Lockmore Castleiney, the two of them clubs, like, to be fair, Shotneil have Brendan Rodgers playing both, they've Chrissy McKay playing both, they've Shea McGuigan playing both as well, so they deserve their flowers as well. But this Lockmore Castleiney team, what an achievement, really. And then when you look at it as well, in the Munster Hurling Championship against Ballygunner, if you remember this correctly, Séamus, the last time they did double in 21, they had a few decisions go against them in that game against Ballygunner, the great Ballygunner team. So, like Lockmore Castleiney have done well in Munster in the past few seasons as well. So, And yeah, the Tipperary champions are on the separate side to the Cork and Kerry champions in the Munster Football Championship as well. So there's every opportunity. Lockmore Castleknock could do the unthinkable and reach 2 finals in Munster. It's not among the realms of possibility. It's an unreal achievement, and fair play to all involved there. But it's going to be a tough final against Clonmel the football. Equally so against Tumavara and hurling. But what a story would be to win not one, but 2 doubles in the space of 4 years. It's going to be exceptional if that is the case, and it does happen.
Do you think we'll ever see a club win 2 All-Irelands in 1 year?
No.
Like a Cork 1990 style double?
I don't know, honestly, because especially club, because they seem to be
you all. You think Kilmacud could do it?
Kilmacud could. But that's a large exception, as you know, Séamus. It's 2 different teams.
Yeah, very true.
So,
I agree with you. One panel, I don't think so. One panel, I don't think so. One club, I think so. I think if we see it get stronger and stronger and stronger, and the club championship gets stronger and stronger, and especially I'm looking at Dublin, Cork, Galway, and saying it's probably going to come from one of them counties. Like, I'd look at how strong Finbars have been over the last decade on both codes, how strong Kilmacud have been over the last decade on both codes, how strong Nafina have been on the last decade in both codes. And I would look at it and think, you know what? If they get a good panel at the same time and things line up, you never know, man. Because, like, as I said, St. Jude's never won a Dublin Football Championship. And I mean this. You put that Jude's team in any other Dublin era, they definitely win at least one. And that's why when we're talking about Ballymun Kickham's and saying, oh, did they kind of underachieve with the team that they had? They won 2 Dublin championships. They won 2 Dublin championships at the same time that Vincent's had one of the best club teams we've seen in Dublin. And Kilmacud Crokes came along. Like, they still managed to get 2 club titles out of that. That's not bad going. And Ballybowden were very strong as well. Like, there's a lot of strong teams in Dublin. Now, we're also going to run through the rest of the games as well. So moving on from the Tip semi-finals, Louth Senior Football Championship semi-final, Nave Marchin. They are into the final where they will play RD St. Mary's. They beat St. Mocta's 2-8 to 2-7. So the 2 teams that we predicted to win the Louth Championship are now in the final against each other, if I'm not mistaken. I think Mulroy's boys will get over the line. Fermanagh Senior Football Championship semi-finals, Enniskillen Gales 4-13, Aderney St. Joseph's 2-8. Erin Gales, Belize 10 points, Derry Connolly Harps 9 points. Then moving on to the Monaghan quarter-final, Ballybay Pierce Brothers 19 points, Latin O'Reilly's 115 after extra time. Cavan semi-final, Ramore United beat Gowna 2-10 to 1-11, so they're into the final. Then the Meath semi-final, Wolf Tones 4-11, Screen 17 points, so Wolf Tones winning after extra time. They're into the final where they will play against Dunshaughlin. The Antrim Senior Hurling Championship semi-final, Dunloy 2-15, Lochgiel Shamrocks 11 points, Dunloy back into the final again where they will play against Cushendall. Offaly Senior Hurling Championship semi-finals, Ballinamuir 121, St. Ryan's 2-14, and Kilcormac, of course, with the magic Adam Screeney 4-21 against Kilderry's 1 goal and 11 points. So we'll stop there. Offaly hurling, Antrim hurling, Meath football, Cavan football, Monaghan football, Fermanagh football, Louth football. What is the one that jumps out to you there?
For me, it's the 2 Offaly semi-finals. Kilcormac, first of all, look, I will say this, Séamus, I might have egg on my face over this. They could have a real run this year. They could have a real run this year, because you look at the Leinster draw that they do have, they're battering everyone in Offaly at the moment. They have the boy wonder and Adam Screeney as well. I don't see anything why they can't get on a run, especially with Ballyhale out of the Kilkenny Championship. If Bennett's Bridge beat O'Loughlin Gales in the semi-final as well, that opens another door.
That's the catch. I'm just going to say that. I think, and bear in mind, I do want to highlight this, I think Adam Screeney is one of the most talented hurlers I've ever seen. We established that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think Mikey Butler is probably the worst stylistic matchup for him as a man marker. I think Mikey Butler is a nightmare for a Screeney to mark, because Butler is just as quick. He's just as like tight. He's just as clever. The only thing is Butler is a little bit older, and he's a good bit stronger. Like physically stronger. So I think when you look at last year's game, like Mikey Butler did a very good job on Adam Screeney, and that was one of the main reasons why O'Loughlin Gales got over the line in that game. So I think for me, and this isn't a criticism. This genuinely is something that I'm looking at as like a positive sign, because if Screeney mops the floor with Butler this time, we know he's the real deal then. You know what I mean? Because we know he's come on leaps and bounds in just a year.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it should be very interesting to see how they get on. Well, I think they'll beat Bandamere in the final. But a word of Bandamere as well. That's their first Offaly final. As far as I've looked at social media, I think that's their first Offaly final since 1908. Like, that's incredible. Fair play to them. Like, what an achievement for that club. In fairness, Brian Diden in the ranks as well, the top scorer of the Joe McDonagh Cup this year. So brilliant achievement for them. A few championships there. Galway, I didn't predict them to win it. I predicted King's Court, who've gone out long ago. But them losing to Ramor United is quite the shock at the semi-final. I didn't expect to see that. I expected Galway to, coast home in the Cavan Championship. But Ramor have shocked everyone in that. Fair play to them for getting over the line there. In the Louth final, Nave Martin against RD St. Mary's. I think it was yourself and Aaron both said Nave Martin, and I said RD St. Mary's won it. So we'll see who's the prediction kings in that game, no doubt about it. In the Fermanagh Championship, my favourites, Derry Donnelly Harps, unfortunately going out. Yeah. I'll say nothing about that, but Enniskillen Gaels could even win it because they had Ciara McKenna, the Ipswich manager, who was part of that club. They got promoted to the Premier League, and if they win the Fermanagh Championship, that would be an amazing year for the club itself. So, like I'd say, they'd be definitely up there to win the Fermanagh Championship. So it's interesting results there, and as well the Antrim Championship, Dunloyne against Rory O'Cushadal. That's a toss-up. That's going to be a tough one to call. It really is. But some good, interesting stories in the club championship there.
Certainly. We'll move on then to the final part. Well, let's see, because there's still quite a few games. Now we'll split this in two as well. So the Roscommon Senior Football Championship semi-final, Roscommon Gales 119, Michael Glavy's 3-9. Roscommon Gales are into the final where they will play against Porrick Pierces, but personally I think Pierces will be too strong for them. Derry Senior Football Championship quarterfinals, then Slough-Neil on their way to smashing Glen. They beat Ballinascreen 13 points to 9. O'Donovan Rossamara fell 2-6, Dungiven 7 points. Armagh Senior Football Championship semi-final, Clonairon 1-11, Crossmaglen Rangers 10 points, so Clonairon into the final where they will play against Clonmagale. Cork Premier Senior Football Championship quarterfinals, Nemo Rangers 19 points, Clonakilty 2-13 after extra time. Nemo win 5-4 on penalties, and Mallow beat Muskerry 3-15 to 2-11. We'll pause here as you're a Cork man yourself. But to make it easy, of these quarterfinals, sorry, I know the Clonakilty one must be hurting.
You know what, Séamus? It is, to be fair. Look, I'm from a rival club in Clonakilty, but they are junior A, so you kind of want Clonakilty to do well. And it was just heartbreaking in this one. Brian White, I don't know, did you see the clip on the Gaelic Corner and a few clips on Southern Star as well? That was a miraculous kick for Brian White to level this game. And you could see the emotion from the Clonakilty players to bring it to penalties. Just unfortunate what happened in it. It was the lottery of a penalty shootout. And it was so close for Clonakilty to get over the line against a very good Nemo side, obviously. Have some incredible history in this one. It was a shame it wasn't shown on Rebels Online, obviously. But having seen the clips on Twitter and all that, it was obviously made up for it. But it was disappointing from a Clonakilty point of view just to lose this game. And I'd imagine the players would have been crestfallen afterwards. They were absolutely gutted, I'd imagine. But Nemo march on where they play Mallow in the semi-final. And that was a comprehensive win. A very surprising result, actually, from a Mallow point of view. Because Muskerry have Chris O'Jones. They're a divisional side. They have some very good players in and around that team. But Mallow have one senior inter-county player, really, Matty Taylor. And he is a leader, obviously, but that's a very good win for Mallow. That's the first time they were in the semi-final of the Cork Championship in a long time. So fair play to them for getting over the line now. But they'll play Nemo next Sunday now in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Hopefully going to that game. So it would be a shock if Mallow overcame them. But it is great for the Cork Championship, especially with a championship with the Bars, Castlehaven and Nemo doing so well. It's great to see a club like Mallow reach a semi-final in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. It's absolutely brilliant to see, and fair play to them for that. few other results there. Slotneil, as you said, on the way to smash Watty Graham's Lane there. And in Armagh, it was a shame that Crossmaglen's season ended that way, but a few Crossmaglen people were saying that they have been underperforming for a long time this season now, and Clonera got over the line by 4-point victory. It does mean it's an all-Lurgan final in this game between Clonera and Clonagale. So I don't know, have we seen that in many counties, that two clubs have come from the same parish? Not sure.
Could be a spicy final for sure. We'll move on then to the other games. The Kerry County Football Quarter Final. East Kerry 114, St. Kieran's 112, Dingle 116, Templenoe 9 points, Dr. Crokes 117, Rathmore 29, St. Brendan's Board 16 points, Kenmare Shamrocks 14 points. The Tyrone Senior Football Championship semi-final, Errigal Kieran 112, Killyclogher 2-8. We've previewed the Tyrone final earlier in the video. If you weren't here for that, just go back a little bit. Mayo Senior Football Championship semi-final then, of course. Ballina Stephenites 118, Ballahadreen 212 after extra time. So Ballina into the final, where they will play against Knockmore, who also beat Brafey after extra time 215 to 18 points. Wexford Senior Hurling Championship quarter final then, St. Martin's 120, Fern St. Aidan's 14 points, Naveana 117, Faith Harriers 19 points. Lee Chin was given a red card in that game. That proved to be absolutely crucial in the Naveana victory. The Galway Senior Hurling Championship quarterfinals then, Loughrea 117, Castlegar 16 points, and then the All-Ireland champion St. Thomas's beat Turlough by the minimum, 19 points to 115. I'm going to pause here due to the St. Thomas's game, and also due to, of course, the Mayo Senior Football Championship semi-finals. But yeah, the champion St. Thomas's pushed to the absolute limit. They've Loughrea waiting for them. Can they hang on even in Galway?
They've done it so far. They've drawn a game. They've won a couple of games by a point. The thing is, St. Thomas's are kind of a team that know how to get over the line in Galway. And they're edging these games by the bare minimum as well. Like, it's going to be a tough one to call this Galway Championship, because Clarebridge and Capatagal on the other side of the draw as well. I'd imagine Clarebridge will get over the line there, and they have some decent players themselves, including Evan Nyland in their forward line. Loughrea are decent side, always the Galway Championship. So St. Thomas will have their work cut out, but what they have over Loughrea and Clarebridge is recent success. And that is evident. They will fight tooth and nail to get over the line in these games, and they're still alive. That's the main thing about them, and they're into the semi-final now, so it should be interesting there. I've never seen two semi-finals of the county championship go to extra time, so the Mayo Championship has definitely garnered my interest because of that. But Ballina Stephenites and Knockmore eventually getting over the line in that one. So brave you're out of the championship, another year without a Mayo Championship. It's amazing to think that group of players have never won a Mayo Championship.
Yeah,
it's unreal in its own right. Ballahadreen fell short by only a one-score game as well, which was unfortunate for them. But Ballina Stephenites and Knockmore, two recent winners of the Mayo Championship. Ballina won it last year. Knockmore were pretty successful around the early 2020s as well. So this is going to be a nitty-gritty final, and it's going to be a tight one to call there. So hopefully we'll have a more exciting Mayo final than we did last year. That would be much appreciated, lads. Just putting that out there. And in the Kerry Championship, I think it's going to be, I'll have to double check this now, East Kerry and Dr. Crokes reaching the semi-finals. I'm trying to check the draw here. It's Dr. Crokes against St. Brendan's Board and Dingle against East Kerry. East Kerry were really tested by St. Kieran's over the weekend. I wonder, Dingle, they're coming in at the right vein of form. Against Milltown Castlemaine, they hammered them and beat Templenoe pretty comprehensively in the quarter-final. Is this the time where Dingle beat East Kerry in the semi-final? I'll be very intrigued to see this one next weekend. I really will be next weekend. There's no doubt about it. Dr. Crokes, I'd imagine, will beat St. Brendan's Board as well. So we could see a repeat of Dr. Crokes against Dingle in the Kerry final in county level as well as club level. So it should be very interesting to see that kind of point of view as well. So again, some very interesting results there. But the Mayo Championship has definitely garnered interest because of the tightness of those games and obviously the extra time in those two.
Certainly. We are going to move on to the final few games. I'm going to finish up with the Cork one and get your opinion on those ones. So the Kilkenny Senior Hurling Championship quarterfinals, O'Loughlin Gales 217, Dixborough 20 points, Mullinavat 221, Aaron's Own 19 points. Limerick Senior Hurling Championship quarterfinals, Patrick's Well 20 points, Monaleen 18 points, Kilmallock 122, Ballybrown 217. The Clare Senior Hurling Championship semi-final, 6 Mile Bridge won 25. Ina Kilnamona 28 points. 6 Mile Bridge won it 4-3 on penalties. The Laois Senior Hurling Championship final, which was shown live on TG Carroll and GABO, Clock Balaculla beat Rathdown ERL 222 to 22 points. The Carlow and Leitrim Senior Football Championships finals both need to go to a replay. Ballinamore Sean O'Heslin's 111, Mohill 14 points in Leitrim, and in Carlow, Palatine drew with Rathvilly 2-7 to 110. Going back to Cork then, the Cork Premier Senior Hurling Championship semi-finals, 6 Mile Bridge, Imokilly 129, Blackrock 120, and then Sarsfield's 22 points, Middleton 21 points. Two very, very enjoyable games by the looks of it there, very high scoring, and it's Sarsfields and Imokilly who have come out on top.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Two games at fairness. Imokilly, Blackrock. So it was interesting in the point of view that Blackrock up to this game have scored three goals in every single game, and Imokilly only conceded one against them, and that was an Alan Connolly penalty. So they didn't score. Blackrock didn't score a goal for playing this one. So you have to give credit to Imokilly. They are a very good side. They're a seasoned outfit. They're almost like an inter-county team at this stage. You have Seamus Harney, you have Dermot Heady there, you have Jack Leahy, you have Kieran Joyce. You have players congregating from East Cork, and it is an incredible side. It's nearly like an inter-county side. Like if you put up Imokilly up against a Carlow or a Laois in inter-county level, I think I'd be pretty confident that Imokilly would beat them. I really like. They are very good side. There's no doubt about it, and we definitely fancy their chances in the final. The second game, Sarsfields Middleton. Obviously, I can't say too much about it. I am part of the backroom team in Sars, but good win, really good win from the lads in that one. They were behind by 3 points at half time, 12 points to 9. Conor Lehan got 13 points all game in this one, and probably showed his class in this semi-final. But our Myers got the decisive score for Sars and won this game at the very last moment. And obviously, they were delighted to reach the final. But Imokilly Sars, no, definitely looking forward to that final. No, it's going to be kind of a different kind of element for myself being part of the backroom team there. But hopefully, Sars can get over the line that one.
Certainly. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad debut year for yourself as part of the backroom team. But that is another weekend in the books. So, Matthew, just before we do wrap up, if I could just I'm going to start my own section here. The good, the bad, the ugly. Steal it from Match of the Day too. Can I get your good moment, your bad moment, and your ugly moment?
The good moment, there's a few this weekend, I would have to say. I think Ballinamere from Offaly reaching their first final since 1908 has to be up there. Like, that's a brilliant achievement for that club. There's no doubt about it. The bad, probably a club coming out on the wrong side of a shock. Probably Gowden and Cavan losing to Ramor United. That was just unexpected over the weekend. There's no doubt about it. And the ugly, the first shot, only one shot inside 19 minutes in the Lavey Watty Graham's Glen game. Very good answer.
My good is Stephen Picky Mar's performance for Clock Balaculla. Absolutely sensational guy. Like, he's unbelievable hurler for Laois and for Clock Balaculla, and he's the main reason why they got over the line in that game. The bad is, I personally think East Kerry are just going to stroll to another county title. And then the ugly is the start that Mohill made, the poor goalkeeper getting lobbed from miles out by Wayne McKeown, who still has it, by the way. Have you seen that game back, Wayne McKeown's points? Oh my good Lord above. If you get the chance to watch TG Carr, go on and watch GA Carr. There's highlights from club championship games across the weekend. GA 2024, really, really good. Wayne McKeown, mate, kicks a goal from about 70 yards. Like, just kicked it straight over the goalkeeper's head into the net. Goalkeeper won't want to see it back. But unfortunately, it did happen. I'm going to go with that as my ugly moment as the first section. And anybody who's watching, throw your good, bad, and ugly if you want into the comments as well. I will respond to them all. So that is another episode in the books, another club championship week all wrapped up. Thank you very much to anybody who tuned into the episode. And do tune into GA Car if you want to actually see the games and see the highlights yourself. Thanks very much to Matthew for jumping on for another episode. Until next week, guys, here on Cluiche, take care.